So today we are going to talk about the definition of life and also some of the study material about the coronavirus. And before we start, now as I promised, we are going to start with small quiz. Okay. Yep. So you're going to what's this? So as we practiced the last time, so you go in here to Kahoot. So be ready to see the PIN. Okay. This software was free, and they are trying to push me to pay for it. So they give me a little harder time. Hopefully still we can use it. Okay, here is the PIN number. If we just low. Okay, everybody's here. Let's just start. Okay, this is the second class. The problem sounds a little funny, right? Which is the essential component of a virus. That means that some of them can be missing from virus. And so I picked up the protein, and it sounds a little strange, right? So let's solve the next problem, and let's come back to this problem together. If one of you could not answer, hey, you should hurry to press your answer. Who couldn't answer? We have 6 people here.
Me,
Who didn't answer?
sir. Me.
What happened? You practiced the whole last the semester with me. Okay, everybody knows that coronavirus is an RNA virus, and corona utilizes RNA as a genetic information. So usually the genetic information of the life on our planet, on the Earth, majority of us, we use the DNA as a genetic information. But sometimes some of the minor other forms of lives, they use RNA as genetic information. So coronavirus is one of them. Now, previous question, which would be the essential material for virus? So that means some viruses use the DNA as a genetic information. Some viruses use RNA as a genetic information. And some virus has a protein coat. And some of them use a lipid membrane. So some of them has a lipid membrane, some of them they don't. So the common essential part is it's not DNA, it's not RNA, it's not lipid. Protein should be there all the time. So there is the answer for the problem 1. Okay. So coronavirus has protein coat, and inside there are the RNAs, not the DNAs as a genetic information. Okay. Now let's move on. Interesting, huh? Now the answer could be, so we said coronavirus is an RNA virus. So corona has RNA, then it does not have a DNA. That's the right answer. How about the lipid? Coronavirus has a lipid or not? Okay, many viruses. Virus has a genetic information inside, and then they have a coat outside. Those coat is made of a protein. And those protein is kind of a small building blocks, and they can form crystalline material. And that's usual the virus forms. But some of those virus, in addition to those protein coat, they have lipid structure too. Those lipids, those are also the bilayer of phospholipids. Coronavirus, they do have a lipid membrane outside. So maybe you have seen some newspaper the article saying that if we use a soap to wash our hands, we can kill the virus because this coronavirus has a lipid structure. That's why if you use a soap, then they can wash out, break up those lipid structure, and that's we can kill the virus. Okay, so this is kind of the brief shape of our enemy for now. Coronavirus has an RNA inside and surrounded by protein coat, and at the same time they have this the membrane structure together and outside. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Someone is the first. Okay, interesting. Nobody succeeded. Virus, or in Latin, we don't have the leftover the pronunciation given to us, so we don't know how they pronounce this virus. Maybe virus. Virus meaning is a poison or toxic. Okay, so many of you selected this as a small. Yeah, virus is very small. We are going to think about how small it is, but that does not mean that virus is small. Virus original meaning was a poison. So even long time ago in Latin means it's a Roman, and Roman period or the Greek period, maybe 2,000 years ago, still the people had some kind of a concept of a disease. Maybe something is causing this disease, and they call this virus maybe, but that original meaning is that this is toxic, causing disease. Okay. I tried to confuse you with the live and dead. Viral sounds like a little similar to live word. What is the word? Meaning live, similar to viral. Anybody? One word which means live, similar to virus or the viral. Viral is the adjective form of virus. Vital, V-I-T-A-L. Vital means that's live. Okay. So I tried to confuse you, but you selected the small. By the way, how small is a virus? What is the size of a virus? Anybody knows? So I taught you several times. Actually, you too. What is the size of a virus? Okay, we are going to study that later again. Okay, this question may not have the correct answer because this question is leading to the big question of what is life. Okay? Life has some characteristics of all of these: reproduction, metabolism, or response to the stimuli, or growth, or something like that. So we are going to think about the definition of life using this chance. So now we move to this PPT file. So in this today's class, we are going to think about the basic definition of life and also the virus or coronavirus kind of things. So we have done. So I asked you the question about some similar questions. One of you gave this kind of answers. So using this as a reference, Merriam-Webster is a dictionary. So it's an English dictionary. Scientific life is defined by these things. And it has all of those four: metabolism and growth and reaction to stimuli and reproduction. Can you think out any non-life form which can do this? Let's think about the growth. Non-life form, they can grow. Any example, can you think? Is it really only unique to the life? Anything? How about the growth of a crystal? If you have some inorganic crystal material, in a given the conditions, they can grow and grow very big. And it looks like it's very well ordered, very well structured. Then growth may not be the very unique property for the life. What do you think? Okay. How about the reaction to stimuli? Any example you can think? Some example which shows this kind of reaction to stimuli, even though they are not life form?
Chemical reactions?
Chemical reactions, yes. Some of them, if it is triggered, then it can go to spontaneously, it can happen. But most of those reactions, if you don't have this trigger, it doesn't happen because everything is already in an equilibrium status. And then nothing is changing that we may not see. So chemical reaction, once it is triggered, means with some stimuli given, then it can happen. Or maybe in a macro scale, we can think booby trap. Let's say you fight with a guerrilla in the jungle, then they put up some booby trap. If you touch it, then condensed potential energy explode, and then it does do something. It generates the explosion, or it may be, shake the knife. So different things it can happen. So any kind of a condensed energy is kind of ready to do something with the stimuli. So in the sense, maybe that is also, there is some example we can find. Now let's think opposite way. Any life forms which cannot do this four characteristics? If you define life as some organism characterized by which can do this four, if they cannot do this four, then they are not life. Let's think that way. Okay, let's think one by one. Reproduction. Here, reproduction. If one cannot make the baby, then it's not life. Is it?
No.
How about S? ASS. S. In Korean, it's a nose. S is a hybrid of donkey and horse. And S is quite strong, and it can endure, and it can work well, and had a good character. That's why they generated this kind of S. Unfortunately, this S is not reproducible. It cannot make its baby. Only it can survive only one generation, generated by female horse and male donkey. Then it can generate one generation of S. And S is not life. They can live maybe 10 years, and they can eat, They can do all other things. Metabolism, growth, reaction to stimuli, they do everything. Only thing they cannot do is reproduction. Then would you say this S is not life? How about the Tyon or liger? It's a hybrid of a lion and tiger, depending on who is the father. They call it Tyon or liger. And this hybrid is also, they cannot generate the baby. They can survive only one generation. And it seems like it's a half lion-like, half tiger-like. It seems like it's a perfect life. They can do all other things, just they cannot reproduce. Then those creatures, they are alive or not? Or I have an accident. Originally, I could reproduce, but by accident, I lost that ability. Then all of a sudden, still I can speak and I can think. I can do all other things, but just I cannot make baby. Then I'm not alive. That's funny, right? How about metabolism? Metabolism is really necessary to the life. If you cannot do metabolism, then can you say it's not life? Many of you picked up this metabolism as the reason why the virus is not life. Virus, it cannot do metabolism by itself. So that's why virus may not be the life. Is that really true? If the metabolism is not there, then it's not life. Can you say something? Sejin, what do you think?
Actually, the virus doesn't have ability to metabolize themselves. But anyway, the metabolism is really necessary for surviving for a virus. This is why virus is not categorized as life, but still the metabolism is necessary for virus.
Let's define the word first. What is metabolism? Anybody
It's
can answer?
all kind of bioactivity inside the life. For example, the photosynthesis or the bread, like that.
Photosynthesis and what did you say? Photosynthesis.
The cell respiration or bread.
Respiration.
This kind of the.
Okay, photosynthesis, it's kind of chemical reaction, photochemical reactions. Respiration is also the other term for respiration we can use maybe some oxidation of high energy material into low level. It's kind of a chemical reactions. It does not answer directly the question of what is metabolism. Can you define again metabolism? Jayan?
In order to produce the energy, or I don't know.
It's also
Sorry.
part, similar situation to Sejin's the answer. It's a part of a metabolism, but it's not defining metabolism itself. So metabolism in Korean, what do you say?
물질대사.
물질대사. Maybe that's a new other term. A little older term. Other term, do you have some other 대사? Not 물질대사.
신진대사.
신진대사. What does that mean? 신진. Sometimes the name itself has, its origin or its the self-explanation in there. What is the sin? What is the jin? Jin, you may not know, but shin, you may know. What is the shin?
Body.
Yeah? Body. That's a good guess, but it's not. Other guess?
You.
This is new. New. So Shin is new, then Jin may be old. So 신진 대사 is kind of a exchange. Okay. So 신진 대사, 물질 대사, it has a similar meaning. So exchange of the materials, replace the older ones with the new ones. That's the original meaning of metabolism, the 신진 대사. Okay. So to do that process, we need the energy to generate the energy and also to use that energy and initiate chemical reactions. So all of these things are required, but word itself, the metabolism is exchange of materials. Okay, so at the same time, it has also exchange of energy too. So that's the definition of a metabolism. So we need to exchange the materials to keep our body shape and also to remove any waste from our body. So those kind of exchange of material and energy, that is metabolism. Okay. How about this? Organismic status or organism. What is an organism? Or some word we use, organic. What does that mean? Organic or the organism? What is the meaning of that the word? Someone?
Yes.
What is an organism?
Organism is the component of life
Component of life.
or product of life.
Product of life. Okay. Any other opinion? 동우? 세진 선배?
Organisms are living entities.
Yeah, organism is a living thing. Organism means it's life something. So if you read this definition, it's a little funny. Life is living something. Basically, this dictionary says life is a living thing. That's what it says. It's kind of a self-redundant definitions, right? It's like a 역전압, 역전압. So it's that kind of it's a little funny situation. Just to use the different word. Life is organismic is kind of a living status of something. So same word, organic chemistry, inorganic chemistry. Organic means this is life forms or living things. So here then inorganic means it's a non-life. IN, inorganic, means it's a none. Sometimes we use A, symmetric, asymmetric, organic, inorganic. That means it's the opposite or none. Okay. So again, this dictionary says life is a living thing. That's what it says, basically. Just a little funny to use as a definition. But anyway, that's what it says here. But metabolism, now it's kind of an exchange of material. If anything goes in, coming out selectively, that can be used as a metabolism. Then how about, let's say, some membrane structure, osmotic membrane? Then small things can pass, larger things that cannot pass. Then that's also doing some kind of sorting, material exchange. Then that's also kind of, by definition, it's kind of metabolism too, isn't it? And life forms. And the bear is doing the hibernating in the winter, and they don't move much, even though it's not perfect hibernating, they say, but it's a slow down. If it's a slow down very much, and it looks like it's dead, then metabolism is super slow. We cannot catch it. Then it's difficult to say whether it's live or dead. A similar thing to the seed of a plant. The plant can go maybe thousands of years, and they do not look like life form. They do not do any metabolic actions, and they just keep surviving, just keep existing, but they do not show any sign of a metabolism. Then still it's difficult to say whether this is life, this is not life. Then maybe the status of this the seed Isn't it very similar to virus? If you say virus doesn't have a metabolism, but once it meets with something, then it starts to show something, right? Now, how about the growth? I already gave you some example. If one cannot grow, then it's not life. It's difficult to say. Up to maybe people say after 25 years old or something, we are growing. After that, there's only one way of decaying. We are not growing further. We are just getting smaller. Then we are not alive after 25 years old. You are still alive and I'm not. So those are definitions. And also reaction to stimuli. Also, I said something. So let's say vegetable, the human, we got some the shock and we cannot move. And we call it vegetable, the person. And we cannot show any reaction to the stimuli. Then they are half dead, but they are fully dead or not. That's also very difficult. So some of these observations, metabolism, growth, response, or the reproduction, this is kind of a description, what we see from life forms. It's difficult to be definition of the life. Still, it's not easy or maybe impossible at the moment to say that this is a definition. So using this, let's think about whether the virus is alive or not. I just picked up some of your answers. Now here, it's following that definition of the dictionary. Virus has its capacity of such organismic activity. Capacity of such organismic activity. Organismic means it's a living, right? Living activity. That means virus has some capacity of life. That's what it says. But observed as a conglomerate. Conglomerate is kind of an aggregate of biological macromolecules when they are outside of functional cells. Yeah, in most cases, that's true. If a virus is found outside of the host cells, they look like just a material, inorganic material. Well, organic, inorganic, the definition of a material is a little different. Organic material is composed of carbon and hydrogen. Those materials we call organic material. Original definition was those materials are from living things. That was the original definition. But now we can synthesize, we can make those organic material. So definition is slightly different. Organic material means this is carbon and hydrogen based material. Now here, this conglomerate, they are organic material, but they do not look like life outside of the cells. Well, any of them, that's true. But is that always true? The virus should be non-life forms only in outside of a cell. Some virus, they may not survive outside of the cells. So some virus always, they should be inside the cell, but sometimes they are active. Sometimes they're just hiding inside. So they do not show any activity of life, but still they should be inside the cell. Once they leave the body, then they die. That's also possible. So the definition here, they are outside of the functional cells. It's not always true. So when you make your comment or the answers, you should think, any other non-existing possibility or different possibilities. Now here's the other answers. The one of you showed. Now if you look at these sentences, I think viruses can be considered to evolve the life. The reason is that I think, well, some of those words in these sentences you can remove and to make the sentence much simpler. So this is a common mistake, as a foreigner to use English. So let me show you. So this word, virus, can be considered. That part already has the meaning of I think, right? Can be considered means I think. So that means this I think part is not necessary. And the reason is that I think, even though without that part, the other part, the essence of life is pursuing existence. It's perfect. Oh, this kind of a mistake, because this language is not our native language. Now we have some kind of a pressure, then we should make it sounds good or sounds better. So typical example is like, I'm wondering whether if it is possible to ask you this question or not. Even you didn't start asking real question. So you are putting up too much this kind of unnecessary other words in the beginning. Not only the non-native speakers, it's even native speakers. If they are not clear in their mind, then some people, they just use all the time this kind of unnecessary part of the word. I know, that kind of unnecessary part. Try not to use them. So try to say succinctly and try to remove all those unnecessary parts. I'm not just the blaming. This is a common mistake by the non-native speaker. So let's try to use simple sentence and clear sentence. Okay. So now let's look at it. Virus can be considered as an evolved life. Makes sense? Virus is changing its form. And the essence of life is pursuing existence. That's also interesting the point. Essence of life is pursuing existence. Well, whether that's intentionally pursuing or that's the result, we don't know. But something should exist. That's a key part of the life. Well, reproduction is one kind of it, right? Reproduction means we make a copy. That's reproduction. Existing is a little different from reproduction. But ceaselessly, that implies that somehow we make our own copy. So this is one of those essence. That's true. Let's look at one more other example here. In this sentence, it looks quite long, but there are many words you can remove. Would you try yourself? In my opinion, I strongly believe there is some redundant part there too. Opinion and belief is already the meaning same thing, right? Virus is not life because virus doesn't have an enzyme or cell structure to the metabolism that essential property of life. Well, whether that's really essential property of life, there's something to think about it. Furthermore, she can't. Oh, by the way, virus is all of a sudden virus became female. Interesting. Furthermore, she can't reproduce herself alone. If a virus is alive, it should reproduce herself, not taking on other life. That's very interesting expression. So that means virus needs somebody else's help. It cannot reproduce itself. And also this sentence implies that those reproduction is privilege of a female. In many cases, that's true. Female is maybe more perfect form of life than male. Male is kind of accessory. Even there is no male, female they can reproduce, just make the same copy. If they make the same copy, they can be considered as kind of, female. So in the sense, female is a more perfect form of the life, we can say. So this is interesting the metaphor. Virus is she. Interesting point. Anyway, this sentence, if I remove, let's just say, in my opinion, you can remove. Strongly, you can remove. And those are some other parts, you can remove those. Then I believe that's fine. It is a thought that this kind of a passive, the sentences, it's not common in the English. We are Oriental people, Asian people. Usually we don't want to speak too strongly. That's why passive sentence is kind of more polite form, we feel. That's why it is believed that, or it is observed that, it is thought that, kind of a passive sentence we are more commonly used, but it's better in English to say in active forms, I believe. Okay, so that small the trial, it can help a lot in many cases. Then you can remove a lot of different things. In my opinion, I strongly, even without that, I believe. That just says the full the meaning, right? So try to use simple sentences and just try to deliver keywords. I think that's easiest way you can improve your speaking the English. Now, so some other definitions. So again, this is metabolism is the issue by themselves, so they are not life. If they cannot use metabolism, then they are not life. That's one of those strong the argument here. Now then, in previous cases, this says without begging on other life. Then by this definition, male, not female, male is a life. Without the female's help, male cannot reproduce. What do they say? Male is a very incomplete form of life. And male, if there's only males in this world, they will disappear because they cannot reproduce if they don't have the help of a female. Isn't it true? Then which life form on this the planet is fully independent, which does not require help of others? It may not be easy to find the kind of examples. We are connected to each other. To some extent, we rely on to other life forms for surviving and also for reproducing. Many of them. Well, this is good form. Viruses consistently evolve to survive. This is, of course, this conclusion is virus is life, right? Virus evolve. They change their forms. Where do they have their changes? In their genetic materials. Very funny, we are going to look at those genetic material later in details using the chemical structure. So those DNAs and RNAs, those are chemical material, but those are our genetic information. By the way, what is genetic information? Anybody can define? Genetic material, what is the genetic material?
Genetic materials means something code that make our body and information about living things.
Information about the living things. Okay, that's a good definition. But genetic material should have some the expanded other meaning too. Information about our life forms. Yes, that's true. Which form is we are going to discuss that later. You may already have that answer, but at the same time, that information should be transferred to the next generations. That information is not only just existing, that information should be transferred to babies. That's the genetic information. So, virus evolve. They are changing. Now here, they don't have their own material, the metabolic materials, so they cannot replicate themselves. That's true, but can we, exactly the same thing I have said, can we reproduce ourselves without others' help, like our mother's help or other life forms' help? It's very difficult to say. It's not only virus problem. Virus relies on some other life forms, that's true, maybe a little more than we do, but none of the life forms, they cannot do this fully on their own. Just a difference of the degrees. Same argument, right? No metabolism, no life. Wow, here's another interesting thing. Virus is very simple. That's why it's only made by protein and nucleic acid. That's why it's not life. Do you agree to this Conclusion? It's too simple. That's why it's not life. It's only protein and nucleic acid. Then how complex is, guarantee that it's complicated enough to be life? What are we, human being is composed of? We have proteins, nucleic acids. What else do we have? We have lipids. Then we have one more, or maybe we have what else do we have? We have water. Then we are a little more complicated than the virus, so we are guaranteed to be life. Well, this definition, scientifically, it has some problem, I think. Life can be very simple. That may be the origin of the life, potentially. The first life could be very, very simple. So this may not be the good approach. If you say, virus is too simple, that's why it is not life. This argument has some issues. And also, I already told you, coronavirus has other things too. They have a membrane. Okay. Now, how about this? Virus is strong in survival comparing to general lives. Okay. What is the general lives? Maybe this means some the real life forms we believe, like a bacteria or ourselves. Well, is this sentence really true? Virus is stronger than bacteria? What do you say? Virus is strong in survival to environment compared to bacteria or lions. Do you agree? What makes you think this way?
I think, for example, humans or other animals can die by other predators or war or something, but virus are stronger than
maybe. Well, human beings are fighting against the virus for some of those serious disease virus like 천연두 virus, they extincted. We don't know whether that's fully true or not. Seems like 천연두 virus is no more in this the world, except some laboratory kept for some study. So they extincted. Some species of life also can extinct. Then maybe we are stronger than 천연두 virus, maybe. So that's one other argument we can tell. But another argument here is when you say maybe yes, we can be eaten by our predator, then what's the percentage of a human being can be eaten by our enemies? 1%? For now, maybe we are stronger than before, so maybe that's less than 1%, right? We can say so. Then how about the virus? Virus, it seems like they are strong because even though we kill them a lot, they still survive and come back with the different mutations. But among those process, how many percent of a virus survived, do you think? Maybe the survived one may not be 99%. Maybe 99% were dead. Only survived 1% with the good mutations. They survived and they occupied that other 99% space. Then that's why they look like they came back. But during those process, those surviving rate may be very, very low, isn't it?
yes.
So that's why this sentence has some issues to think. So which one is really the winning or stronger? It's difficult to define. Okay, so sometimes we win. Seems like we win, but sometimes after some point, survive the 0.00001% of virus, they can come back with a stronger shape. So that's why during those other process, it's difficult to say which one is stronger. Okay? So this is an interesting point though. Now, how about this? Some hypothesis is possible. Viruses are evolved from simple creature like a parasite plants. Interesting other argument. Well, let's check whether let's do the fact check here. Parasite plant, is that simple creature?
No, I didn't meant that.
Okay.
Just viruses can be evolved from other creatures like parasite plants.
It's a very possible. We are going to talk about it later. Virus is not just evolved from very simple form to the more complicated forms. Virus could be evolved from or generated from much more complicated creatures. That's very possible. So now we believe that kind of a possibility very strongly. What can be the origin of the virus? Maybe it's not only from the simple creature. For example, here like a parasite. It can be from us. Virus can be small fragment of us, human or animal. That's also possible. So now this is related to the definition of a virus. What is a virus? Now all we know for now is virus is composed of a genetic information, genetic material, either DNA or RNA, and protected by protein coat. And sometimes even further, they have a membrane outside of the protein. Then where is it from? It's much smaller than bacteria. Then it was evolved from smaller to current virus, or totally opposite way, very complicated big life forms or very complicated life forms. Small part of it is fragmented, and then they formed virus. It's very possible. Now it's not clear whether small things is built up to make big ones. Evolution is not only that way. Evolution sometimes it goes different ways, making it smaller and dump out all other things. And they become much simpler forms. That's also possible. So this is interesting other point we can think here. Okay, this is not true. I already told you. I didn't know this either. So when I asked the virus, the scientist about this, hey, how many viruses have a membrane? That so-called expert says it's not clear, but I feel it's like a half and half. Half of the virus they have a membrane, half of them they don't have a membrane. It's just protein structure outside. Protein, you may think, it's kind of, the scale on the fish, and it's kind of rigid material outside. That's why it's easier to crystallize. And some of those, the virus crystal is a beautiful, the single crystal. You can see like a diamond structures. But many viruses, they have a membrane too. Now, this was about the virus, the definitions. So conclusion, well, nobody knows whether this virus is really life or not, but definitely virus has some features of the life characteristic. First of all, their genetic information is the same with ours. Our genetic information is stored in DNA. Only one set of information we give to our offsprings, to our babies, is just a DNA set. Just package it with the other things like egg cell or sperm cells, and with some help of mitochondria and other structures. But only one cell contains one set of DNA. That's what we use as our genetic information. Virus use exactly same material, DNA, or very related material, so-called RNA. RNA and DNA is the cousins. It's very close to each other. They can convert to each other. So in the sense, at least the virus is kind of a fragment of so-called real life. They have many features of life. They can reproduce and exponentially fast. So reproduction is a one good definition of life, one good characteristic of life. They can divide into two and two. So that means they can grow or they can reproduce exponentially. That's a very important feature of life. None of those chemical process, it's difficult to do this kind of exponential growth. It's more step-by-step increase. You can make a 1, 2, 3, 4, not 1, 2, 4, 8, 16. So this is a very good feature, very important feature of life. And virus shares some part of it. That's why they can grow very quickly. And also they have the ability of evolution. Evolution we are going to think about later again. But anyway, they have some very strong evidence that they have a life forms characteristic. That's why at least when we handle them, we consider them or we treat them as kind of a live enemy, not dead enemy. If it's just a toxic material, they don't grow and they don't reproduce. We just treat them as a material. Inorganic material means non-living materials. But like the virus is different. They can replicate with whoever's help, it doesn't matter. They can replicate. They use the same genetic information. They can interact with us using that information. So that means they can transfer that DNA to our body, or they can take up some DNA from our body and insert it into their structure too. So in the sense, well, at least for this course, we can consider life, the virus is kind of form of life, because that's some other characteristic we needed to handle. Now, second question was, how do you define yourself? Well, this sentence was much, this answer was much shorter than the previous one. My body has trillions of cells. Each cell does not have consciousness, purpose, but they have my DNA. Yeah, that's true. Each cell has a one perfect set of DNA. In general, you speak. Now, the genetic information materials are important, and because they can define the people. Different genetic information can define different people too. And I have a self-awareness, which is the only mine, not somebody else's. Okay, itself, this the three sentences, it has the smoothly flowing, it has a smoothly flowing logic. I have many cells. Each cell has a DNA, and those materials are important to define people, and I have a self-awareness. By the way, these three sentences, does it answer the question? Define yourself? There is no answer, right? This is just describing some of those features here, but it does not have a direct answer to the question. Be careful, this is good sentences, but my point is, when you get some questions, think about what can be most direct answer to the questions. Okay, especially when I ask you the question in English, is this A or B? If there is a question like that, your answer is a yes or no, then many people, even including some of the native speakers, they started to answer because something wrong here, right? I asked you whether that's a yes or no, or A or B. Then your answer should be start with, I think it's A, because that's the right order. Or I think it's a yes, because even you didn't answer yes or no, or A or B. Now you start with saying because. That means you have something else as ongoing, some other process is ongoing in your other mind, but it's not straightforward way to communicate. Especially in English, it is. You should say the conclusion or your answer first. And then you describe why you think and why it should be supported. Okay, so this is one of those big difference between Asian language and also the Western way of thinking. So anyway, we are learning the discourse using English. So let's try to practice this kind of the usage of language too. Okay? This sentence does not have any problem itself, but whether this is directly answering to the question that how do you define yourself? Okay, I have the self-awareness. Is that the definition? It's not clear by looking at those other answers, right? Okay. Some other interesting the answers here. We do gamogenesis. Gamogenesis means it has at least two different forms of sex. Well, most common the the system is two systems, female and male, but it's not necessary to be two systems, right? Male, female, and maybe third the sex, which if they can share those genetic information, it's also possible. But anyway, the answer starts with we do have gamogenesis. So it means it's not just to make exactly the same copy of myself like a bacteria. We have two separate the pieces of information, and then we shuffle it and then combine it. Fine. Next sentence. We are the only animal species that do not only continuing species and individual, but leaving specific history and spirit to later generation. Let's define history first. What is a history? When I give this question to you, I specifically told you that not philosophically. I
Yes,
asked you. Okay.
I wanted to say that we are the only animal that have brain that have brain which consider high dimensional thinking. And
okay, then your answer is you are a high dimensional thinking being. It has some information here, but you don't have that conclusive definition here, right? That's the point. And also, I tried to not to put your name here, so you can hide any time. Someone you can say, "Oh, this person may think." Okay, so there's nothing wrong here. I'm just pointing out that when you give the answer out, then try to make directly answer to the questions. That's the main point. Okay, and also for those definition of those words, it's better to use good definition. So let's find that definition of history. What is history? Dan, what is history?
History is
well, history is his story, right? Not her story. His story is history, right? History is a written record. That's a history. That's why when you say in Korean, 역사, 선사, 역사 is a historic period, 선사 is a prehistoric period. That means if there is no record, then we don't have a history. Okay, when you choose those words, it's not clear what someone meant by this history, but some of those the cultural thing maybe or spiritual thing is can be delivered to the next generation. Okay, that is a good characteristic of human being, but that is not definition of what is a seongan, who is a seongan, right? So try to when you make this kind of the sentences, rather than long sentence, think about what is the question. I will repeat this question over and over during this course. And if you say some long, not wrong, long answers, and I will ask you again, what was my question? Then you think again, what was the point of the question and what point you should focus on? Okay, that is really important to the practice for communication. Okay. Now, scientific point. Okay, good definition for the first part, at least the describing. Yes, we do have some spiritual other aspect. Self-consciousness, well, cannot be explained, well, simply by molecular biology or cell biology. Well, when I asked you scientifically, it does not need to be necessarily biologically or cell biology or chemically, okay? You could describe still, we are kind of a complicated, complex system. That's another word you can use. It's difficult to explain, but it's not the thing which cannot be explained. We can a little briefly describe and a little different way to describe. At least we are not, at least you don't say we are kind of a spiritual the spiritual the body which cannot be explained, then you give up your scientific explanation. So of course, it's difficult to say molecular biology means it's chemically, molecule and molecular is a similar meaning. So chemically describing whole or body is very difficult or too complicated or too much information. But still, we don't give up to give some logical thinking basis that the base to the answers. So that's something that I wanted to ask you. Now, after these three the answers, now I realize that those answers is coming from the older one to new one coming down. Three answers has some other point. From this point, the other three answers is kind of polished, safer, but getting a little more and more boring and not unique answers. It's just a kind of just a 모범생 answer, but it's not fun to read. Always you try to give your own unique answers. There is no point that there, whether it's right or wrong, you think your own way, try to give out the unique answers. The three answers from now on, they look almost the same. Okay, it's not, especially if you are first person to answer, then you can write anything. Second person, you should try not to use the same word from the first person. Okay, then the last person, maybe it's most difficult to find your own answers. That's fair, right? And also that's the way how we can figure out how different people think different way. Okay. Now, so this is the main point of the today's. What should we study? So the answer was much shorter. So here's some suggestions. Property of a coronavirus. Target of a therapy. Okay, sounds good. How this virus is different from other virus, other coronavirus, but we can say other virus, or maybe other life forms. So this is a good the material we can think. Then we can understand better what is the unique part of this coronavirus and why is it difficult to handle kind of issues. So what drugs or the vaccines are effective for this? Yeah, that's something if you can do, then that would be great. Now here, what antigens are targeted by them? So getting a little more details. Now to answer this, we need to understand what is the antigen and what is its partner, which targets what kind of situations. This is something we are going to learn step by step. Principle of treatments of a coronavirus, maybe after several years, maybe it can be straightforward. But for now, we should use all other history of treating other virus diseases. They can give us some clues. When we had different difficult diseases before, how did we manage them? And what was the successful approach? That would give us some hint how to handle these issues, right? Here we need a history or her story. Okay, this is a good topic too. You can think about why. Then the real answer we want to get is how can we make it faster? If it's slow for now, using what method can you make it faster? that would be more useful, the focus. Yeah, this is very interesting, the point too. What's real and what's fake? So so-called fact check we needed to do. So we are scientists or pre-scientists. So we wanted to, when we hear something that we wanted to distinguish and figure out whether that's real, true or not. And there's a lot of story and many informations are flowing around, and many of them and some conspiracy is many ummoron, whether this virus is made by some laboratory or imported by American soldiers to China, or some laboratory in China, they are trying to make some biological weapon and it was an accident to be released to the outside. And people use some evidence and to support their claims. Now we are scientists, or at least we can think logically. By collecting those informations, then we can judge at least which one is correct and which one is really fake. Okay, so this can be interesting topic we can cover too. Then by searching those the newspaper or the articles and what supporting information they are using, and then we can analyze whether they have a good evidence to say that, or this is just a bullshit. Okay, this is a good topic too. Yeah, good. The sentences, but still this sentence, it can be written in a much more straightforward of active forms. This said, should be investigated or corrected. This is a passive form. 수동태, not 능동태. So you can use, we should. So you use yourself as the subject, and then make it simpler sentence too. Anyway, the whole point is we should investigate and correct, remove those difficulties of, whatever. Yeah, this is kind of the different expression of what we should study. Yes, let's find out. At least we are not making those drugs right away, but by the end of this course, hopefully we can suggest or propose something very reasonable, the approach. And if different kind of the virus is coming back to us, then at least you guys are, you guys have a good idea how you should handle this kind of issues and give out, good solutions for the next event kind of things. That would be really great. Okay, fine. So this answer was the last answer. This is a simpler the answer than before. Maybe this answer could come in the first. Always, if you're late as a last person to answer, you should think more sophisticated and better answer than before. Okay, try them. So this one may not be difficult to find this information. And I think there's already one paper came out about this crystal structure of this coronavirus. You may have seen some pictures about this. I think that the information may not be difficult to find. Okay, I think this is the last slide. So next class is, don't move too fast. Next class is the next Tuesday, 2 p.m. And then I will put up the next week studying material. Next week I'm giving you more examples of those pandemic the diseases which had some the previous history, and there's some assignment there too. So we are going to have the next class next Tuesday 2 p.m. So due day for that assignment and all quizzes is 6 a.m. next Tuesday morning. Okay. Now, do you have any question? Okay, if you don't have a question, then today seems like I'm recording. I successfully recorded this, and also Xiao is recording this too. So we are going to encode it and then upload it to YouTube, and then provide those YouTube the link sometime in this afternoon. And also, I will open up the second week, the study material right away after this course. Okay, no other question? How is the mic system? The voice is clear to you?
Yes, it's good.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. Today was a little better than last time, but seems like I have tried the different systems to do this online the class. Even I was thinking to do some live YouTube the broadcasting. Practiced a little, but seems like YouTube was not the fast enough. I don't know how they can do like so-called BJ broadcasting the Jackie, but it was not fast enough. And this Zoom system is so far, the comparing to other systems, working quite the real time, and seems like it's quite straightforward. So hopefully we don't have much more the technical problem, and hopefully the situation is getting the cleared out the quickly, that we can see each other by face to face in the class sometime soon. But for some time being, let's try our best. Okay. Okay, guys. Then see you next Tuesday. Okay. Bye bye.